We are live. All right. So, today's title, Procrastination. Is it friend or is it enemy? And we all know the definition of procrastination, that moment when we're getting ready to do something that we know we have to do, but we really just don't want to do it. And we will find every tiny little reason not to do that thing. We'll look at the scab on our arm. Then we realize, oh, well, I got to watch some TV first. And then, oh, I just remembered. I have to read up on my favorite book. Oh, just remembered one more thing. And you keep backtracking until, what's up, Carol? How you doing? I'm going to ask you the question, procrastination, do you think it's the friend or do you think it's an enemy? Which one do you think? Or both? And then you get to that position where you're like, well, I always have tomorrow. I will do it tomorrow. And tomorrow comes and you just go through that same pattern over and over and over again. So, how does procrastination work? How do you deal with it? What do you do to get rid of it? Can be both depending on the situation. And I would have to agree with that. Procrastination is that thing that we will do when we don't want to do a particular task. And so when we don't want to do that particular task, we put it on the back burner, put it on the back burner, and put it on the back burner some more, to the point that task can become so overwhelming that it's like I can't even chop away at it anymore, so I might as well just forget about it. But one of the best tools that you can use for procrastination, the project seems hard, but you can chunk the project down. And if you take the time to just do a little bit at a time, you'd be surprised how far you can go. So if you give yourself maybe a time limit of 15 to 20 minutes, working out, no, get it done. Yes, working out is one of those things where if you're, what's up, Supermom Go? How are you doing? I'll ask you the question too. Procrastination, friend or enemy? Because I'd love to get your guys' opinions on this one. So what I was saying was, if you can do a little bit of that task, just chop away at the task just a little bit, and then go back to the task and go back to the task until you figure out what you need to do exactly. I know I was actually talking to a teammate yesterday, and he was mentioning how he has trouble in school because he's constantly procrastinating on his classes because he doesn't like the studying of the material. He doesn't understand some of the material. And so he puts it on the back burner to the point he just falls behind. Big time enemy. And so I gave him an option. And actually it sounded like he was really keen to the option. It's just about doing a little bit at a time. Just do a little bit at a time. Because when you can do it in small chunks. Hey, what's up, Chef Disaster? How you doing? Yeah. Yeah, I know a master's can be quite difficult. So it does depend on the situation too. The situation does play a role, and the amount of time that you have within the situation. If you can chunk it out, it's probably going to be the best option you have when it comes to procrastination. So if you can take little chunks at a time and focus on doing a few things at a time. I'm doing well, Chef. Thank you for hitting the like button. I appreciate that. I'm glad you're good too. That's awesome. And so when you can do it that way, the task doesn't seem as difficult anymore because you've set out a time to focus specifically on the task. And then when you're done focusing on that task for 15 to 20 minutes, then you can go about your day and do something else. Because the funny thing is, so we have our conscious mind, but we have our subconscious mind as well. And some of these big tasks that we really don't want to do can be some of the best things that we need to do for ourselves to move in the direction that we need to move into. But our conscious mind is very focused. It sees problems and can find solutions with those problems with the focus. And our unconscious mind can just wander all over the place. And it's a little more diffuse. And what it does is it will find solutions in some of the weirdest forms and possibilities. It'll just find a way to create these new connections. Connections that we might not have seen that our focused mind was unaware of. And so that's where procrastination can really be your friend and your enemy. It really comes down to how you use it. Procrastination can almost seem like an unfocused thinking, like you're just going into something else. Yes, yes. And so when you learn to control that conscious and subconscious mind, your abilities really do become limitless because you start seeing possibilities in places that there were not possibilities. And everything starts coming together very well. I like to think of it as if you were on a pool table and you want to get to a specific pocket. You want to hit that ball in a specific pocket. You can't always focus specifically on that pocket. Sometimes you have to look at the bigger picture. And when you look at the bigger picture, you have a better chance. Thanks, Carol. You as well. Thank you. You have a bigger chance of getting to that pocket. It is the 00. Yeah, you tell me what you think too. I'd love to hear it. So when you go into that diffuse mode of the limitless possibilities and seeing different options and seeing different angles, that's sometimes the best way. It's not always as easy as A to B, but sometimes A to B is the right way to do it. It's the perfect way. Because if there's nothing in the way of the pocket and there's just that ball, the cue ball, and the hole is right in front of you, you're going to go in the straightest line. It's going to be the easiest process. It's going to be A to B focused. So this is where having focus and diffuse thinking go hand in hand. But in order to get to diffuse thinking, it starts with focus. And that's why for that 10 to 15 minutes, you go all in on whatever particular project you're doing. When you go all in on that project, because you'll still be thinking about it in the back of your head for the rest of that day. And you don't necessarily have to only do 15 to 20 minutes at one time, one day. You can break it up a couple times. You can try it for 2 times a day or 3 times a day. And you'll see that you'll start learning the material a little more rapidly because you're putting both of those thinking processes together. You're not wearing yourself out and trying to do it all at once. I think sometimes people don't procrastinate enough. And if you don't procrastinate, that can get you in trouble as well. If you just gung ho going full force, it's going to be difficult to really put things together. It's almost like trying to sprint in a race and it's a marathon. It's a lifestyle. It's not going to, it's not a quick ending. So going all out full force in one burst isn't the best route to go. You have to know when to sprint. You have to know when to jog. You have to know when to use your resources. And that's the same thing with the way we think about things, the way we think about life, and whether we procrastinate on something or whether we don't procrastinate on something. My clients have been doing yes, yes. And that's the truth, Super Go Mom. Sometimes people will feel guilty, they'll feel bad because they did procrastinate. And it's about strategy. Life comes down to strategy. If you have the right strategies, you'll be fine. I used to be notorious for procrastination, notorious for it. And then I realized how the mind works because everybody's mind procrastinates. Like that's just one of those natural things where it's like how do I get myself out of this situation without feeling as bad about getting out of this situation, and then you feel bad about getting yourself out of the situation because you know what you did. So it really comes down to how do I find solutions? It really comes down to solutions. And that's a big solution, just 15, 20 minutes. That's it. You set a time limit for that. And you're going to focus on that time limit for that amount of time because it becomes a lot easier to do that. It kind of reminds me of when you're driving, and I hope none of you drive and talk on your cell phone or text on your cell phone specifically. But if you're driving and you have messages going off or your phone goes off, you have that urge to want to do those things. You have that urge to want to check your phone. But if you leave your phone in your glove compartment, everything becomes a lot easier. It's not a problem anymore. You've just set up a process. You've set up a solution to make the job easier. When we have notifications, it's in our nature to want to see what's going on. And we want to try and focus our energies all over the place, not knowing it's not the smartest thing to do. It's impossible to focus all your energies on all things. So when you have notifications, your music's blaring, you're driving your car, someone might walk in the middle of the road, anything can happen. So you want to have full control on what's going on what you are doing. And you want to focus your energies. And so when we realize these little tricks that we do to ourselves, it's just some of the smallest tricks that we do to ourselves to convince ourselves that what we're doing is okay enough. It's just okay enough. And what I want to do is just flip it a little bit more and make people do what they know they can do, go all out on their gifts specifically, and do the right things in the right direction and see just how capable they can be as an individual. Because when individuals become capable, groups become very capable. I think when people do the best for themselves, they're going to do the best for other people as well. That's just the way I've seen it going and playing out consistently. A happy person, when a person is happy, when a person is feeling good, when a person is doing what is necessary of them, when a person is holding themselves up to certain standards, they will hold others to certain standards, but they will do it in a positive and empowering way. They will just do a little bit better. And that's what it's about. Just get a little bit better each day. Hey, what's up, Mo? How you doing, brother? Just get a little bit better each day. Hey, how's the lifting going? Everything going well with that? So if you can do that and focus on building consistent momentum and moving in the direction that you need to move into, you would be absolutely surprised about how far you can go. Because my whole thing, when it comes down to it, hey, what's up, Nina? How you doing? Everything well for you? Can you deal with a friend that procrastinates all the time? Dealing with the I am well, Nina. How about yourself? Thank you for asking. So, dealing with friends that procrastinate all the time. Hmm. Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. So, when you're dealing with friends who are procrastinating all the time, this is kind of interesting because this is a conversation you're going to have with yourself. It has nothing to do with your friends specifically. Um, but they say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So if you're looking to go somewhere with your life specifically and you have friends that just aren't having it and they're actually hurting you in your process, thank you, brother. If they're hurting you in your process, then you got to know when to let them know, like, hey, I got love for you. What's up, wonderful, excellent? I got love for you, but, and you don't even necessarily have to let them know. Like, you just have to do you. It depends on where you are in your life and where they're at in their life. And if their procrastination is hurting you in any way, then you got to figure it out. You got to figure out, are these the kind of friends that I need around? And it has nothing to do with them being good or bad. It just has to do with, are they helping you with your goals in life? Because if they're not, and you have specific goals that you want to achieve, it's probably evident that you need to do what you need to achieve and put the friendship on the back burner for the moment. If you have to talk to your friends from time to time, you can talk to your friends from time to time, but if they're hurting you in a negative way, then I would probably say avoid them altogether. That doesn't help anything. But if, let's say, you're partners in a business, for instance, then you have to talk to them and let them know, like, look, this is where we need to go and this is how we need to get there and this is the strategy I think is going to work best for us. And it's also important that we delegate instead of force things. You definitely don't want to force things. You can't force people to do anything. It's just not going to work. But you can come out with strategies that will make it efficient for all areas. So it's a very complicated question to answer because there's so many variables that really determine on how you're going to approach the situation. But if we're going a little bit simple and we're generalizing and we're just saying, like, I have this friend, they procrastinate all the time. When I get around them, I procrastinate more. I don't want to procrastinate anymore. I want to do certain things. Then you probably shouldn't be hanging out with that friend. It's not helping you and it's going to frustrate you. And you might take it out on your friend and you don't want to do that either. You just have to do what you need to do and move in the direction that you need to move into. And you got love for your friend. You always have love for your friend, but you have things that you got to do. And that's just the way it goes. And again, like I said, that's very, very generalizing it. And if that answers your question, I hope it did. And if not, if it's a little more specific, just let me know, and I will let you know my opinion on that. Let me see. Let me read back some of these. Oh, Mo and thank you, Super Mom Go. Mo and Nina gonna train together? You guys should get it in. And let's see. Let me go back. Very well. Training is great. Getting closer. Awesome, Mo. Keep holding it down, brother. You're doing good. That's what it comes down to. Hey, that's what it comes down to, man. Just a little bit more each day. A little bit more, a little bit better. Because eventually, this is what goes down. Eventually, you get to a point you get to a point where you want the challenge. You want the challenge. You want it to be hard. It's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. And that's what a lot of people miss sometimes. You say, now you got me all started. But this is the thing. And this is what happens with every one of my clients. They go on to do great, great things. And their greatness starts from small things. And what people do too often is they try and go all in right away. Didn't have enough success, but I got to go all in right now because I need to get to this specific goal that I'm looking for. And I got to do great things. And I've never been in this field. I've never been in this arena, but I'm going to make it happen. And I'm going to set lofty goals. And I'm only going to attack those lofty goals. And when I fail at those lofty goals, I'm going to find an excuse not to do it anymore. And that's a big problem that people have. It's like, give yourself a little bit of success first. Start small. We are fighters by nature. Every one of us knows it deep down inside. And that's where the guilt and the hurt and the pain comes from, because we don't like to fail. We do not like to fail. And so we set ourselves up to fail. And then we fail, and it's like, all right, how do I make this situation feel like I didn't fail, but I'm just walking away from it? And then you hold on to that. And you feel like garbage. But you give, hey, what's up, Jessica? How you doing? Oh, thank you, wonderful, excellent. Trying. So when you do those small steps and you win enough times, you change. Something about you changes. And then you can't wait for the challenge. You cannot wait to get to that position. And you go all in and you run through obstacles. You don't freak out on an obstacle. You run through that damn thing. That's what it comes down to. And that's what people miss. Because they don't even realize their own greatness, because they put themselves in a situation that they couldn't win at that time. Just because you can't win at that time doesn't mean you cannot win. You can always win. You can always win. And that's what I tell people. And the funny thing is, so I had one client and I was talking to him and I go, you know what the biggest thing is? You know why my people do so well? I see it in their eyes. I change their mindset on things. I give them the opportunity to go all in on themselves. And I support them. Because even if they fall, you still have that option to get back up. But I go all in and I make sure they're honest with themselves. I don't BS them. You can't BS people. Because the truth of the matter is, they'll just use you as the excuse too. And so every one of these clients that I deal with, I don't have a lot of clients. I don't. And I choose to keep it that way. I choose to make it that way for a specific reason. I put a lot of energy in my people. I put a lot of energy into them. And I think it's crap if you have 50, 60 people, because there is no way one person can go all in on that many people. It's just not happening. It's not happening. You can't put the kind of energy that I put into my people if you have 60 of them. But when you put that kind of energy in, the percentages go way up for success. I have a high success rate. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's probably in the high 80s. I don't mess up often. And sometimes it doesn't work out for whatever reason. And the one cool thing that I do respect, this is the one thing I'll say about all the clients. I've only had one who really messed up and she just had no idea. But all my clients that I've ever trained, they never put it on me because they're like, you went all in on me. That was me. That was my bad. It was my choice. So I had one client, only one, and she was funny. Um, she would tell me like, I'm not losing weight. And I said to her, well, how's your eating going? She goes, that eating's so mundane, so I eat whatever I want. I go, okay, all right. And so I asked her, well, how's the cardio going? She goes, I tried doing the cardio and it's not for me. Like, well, try different forms of cardio. Like, you can dance, you can do so many different forms of cardio, right? Just break a little bit of a sweat. And then I said to her, I'm like, well, you're supposed to come in 12 times a month, and I've only been seeing you twice a month. She goes, yeah. And she gives me this look like I had this answer for her. And I go, well, you're not putting any work in though. Like, you're not doing anything for anything. And I just need a little bit of work. But you can't expect to pay someone and they just somehow magically turn you into what you were looking to turn into. Like, you got to put in your effort too. And she laughed. I mean, she laughed because it's one of those things where I'm like, what do you want from me exactly? Like, how can I change you and you not put any effort in? I've never heard of something like that. Like, that never ever happens. So that was the only one client that ever did that, and we had a good laugh about it afterwards. But other than that, I put a lot of energy into my people, a lot of energy into them, to the point they actually what my thing. I love my people so much because when I do put that kind of energy in, they put that kind of energy into me because they're constantly talking about how great I do things, how I get them to where they need to go. Oh, you need to check this guy out. Like, my whole marketing campaign is really ran by word of mouth and referrals. That's what makes it even easier. And I have to turn people down sometimes. Unfortunately, I just don't have the time. And I have to be really specifically on who I take on as a client. That's what it comes down to. Because I know, like, when you're putting real kind of energy into people and you're doing your very best, you're doing just your damn best, you're going 100% in on them and hoping that they go 100% in on themselves, then that's when magic happens. You just see great things happen. And not just in one area of life, it really falls into all areas of life. If you know how to create discipline in one area, you will find a way to create discipline in all areas. That's another thing when I was talking about the successful and how it's not quick and easy. For some strange reason, they try and create this, oh, it's quick and easy. I'll find the quick and easy way to do it. Like, yeah, okay, could that really work? I don't see how that works in any form or any fashion. I don't see how that's a possibility. And the only way it ever will work is if that person already knows how to be successful. So they buy your program and they already know how to be successful, but you give them a couple strategies, they use those strategies and they know what success is and they move out quickly, and then you use them as a testimonial. Oh, did this in 6 months. Told you. Like, no, it takes years. Years. Decided to focus mental fitness. My whole life changed. That's awesome, Nina. And that's what it's about. Like when you go all in, invest in you. Invest in you. Good stuff. That's a virtual high five right there. That's what I'm talking about. When you invest in yourself, when you go all in on yourself, that's when things start to happening. Oh, nice. Also, Nina, if you have any questions, you can ask me, and I will help you in the best way possible. What's up, Parrot World? I'm good. How about yourself? You go when you invest in yourself, and investing in yourself doesn't mean go at it on your own. Like that's where it gets funny. Because I'm glad to hear that, Parrot World. Good to hear, brother. I'll have people who will think they're investing in themselves and they're really just wasting their time. Like it comes down, hey, what's up, AD? It comes down to really putting it together in an efficient way. It's not as easy as I'm investing in myself because I'm doing everything by myself and I'm doing it half-assed. Like, no, be honest with yourself. If you have to pay for a program, pay for a program. If you have to buy a book, buy a book. If you don't have the money to do it, you can learn a lot on the YouTube. You can learn a lot on videos. You can learn a lot on a PDF. You can learn that information. And that's only if you don't have the money. If you want to go a little bit faster or do it a little bit sooner, then find a mentor. And it's funny, I had someone was telling me like, what does a mentor really do? Like, I can just figure it out myself. And it's just like those are usually the people who don't have the things that they want in this life. Like they just don't have it. They talk about how they'll figure things out all on their own, and they're not happy with their life. They don't like the job that they work at. They don't like what's going on, and they'll blame all of these outside forces instead of looking within and saying, what do I have to change about myself? What do I have to do to move in the direction that I need to move into? Oh, did you hit 1K? Or are you talking about me hitting 1K? I don't even think about that stuff. I just come on here if exactly, Nina. Like, and that's where it gets kind of funny, and it happens rarely. Luckily, they're rare, because the one thing I do is I know how to really. Oh, that's cool. Almost at 1,000. I know how to really ask the deep questions to people, because it sometimes comes down to those really deep questions and saying like, look, yeah, it's true. Are you where you want to be in your life? Why aren't you where you want to be in your life? Everyone knows their answers. Like, people are smart. We know our answers. But sometimes we're so smart that we'll be smart enough to get ourselves into a bad situation too. Like we'll find a way to make it everything else's fault, and we'll logically put it in a situation to where it's like, you see, and this is why I'm not where I want to be. And that's just not the truth. Like that's never the truth. And it comes down to there are plenty of solutions, which honestly, it comes back to the whole procrastination thing. So when you go in on something and then you go away from something, you get more clarification and you can get more answers. Exactly. And that's what it comes down to. If people aren't working where they want to be, then they're not going to get where they want to get. And then to use the excuse, well, I want to be here, but I don't want to have to put the work and the energy to be there. Honestly, you won't appreciate being there even when you get there without putting in the work. The work is part of what tailors you to belong there. That's the truth of the matter. You only belong in the situation that you put your energy into. And what it comes down to is, think about this. So there was a book that I read. It's called A Whack on the Side of the Head. One of my favorite books, actually. And it talks about, it gives you a multiple choice of like A, B, C, D, E. right? And it gives you these variations of shapes. And it says, where are all of the shapes similar? And so you pick your answer. And then I read further down and it says if you pick C, you were correct. If you picked B, you were correct. If you picked A, you were correct. And if you picked D, you were correct. And if you picked E, you were also correct. But you probably only picked one of those answers because you saw one solution. And we think in terms of seeing one solution. And when we have that one solution, it's like, well, there it is. I'm good to go. I don't need to think of any other solutions. And what a whack on the side of the head is look at the bigger picture. There can be several solutions to one problem or several problems. There can be variations. So even when you do pick your first solution, sometimes your first solution might not be your best solution. So you can look for other solutions. And sometimes what people do is instead of looking for solutions, they look for problems. And we know problems are going to be around, but there's always solutions to problems as well. And the best way to look at it is usually let's look at ways to find solutions instead of finding problems because we know the problems are there. Now let's get the solution there. So I am actually going to get going because I have to train here in a little bit. But it was great talking to you all. By the way, appreciate all of the likes. Appreciate all of you. You guys are amazing. You guys are a great group of people. I love talking to you. And I'm going to read Nina's thing real quick. That's so when I was working on losing weight in the beginning. Yes, exactly. And that's what it comes down to. There are many solutions, many solutions. And also with how you are eating, Nina, if you ever want to send that to me, that would be great because I know it's actually helping you with what you've changed in your nutrition. I know you're feeling a lot better. I'm happy you figured out what was going on. I know no one ever feels good when you're just not feeling good and you don't know the reason why you're not feeling good. That can be frustrating for anybody. So I'm really happy you're in the position that you're in now and you and your son Zane are doing well. And by the way, he's adorable. He's a cool kid. And you guys just keep doing great things too. You keep making it happen. But like I said, if you have any specific questions for me or if I can help you in any way, and I also don't ever overstep my boundaries. If I don't know a particular thing, I just let people know that I don't know that particular thing. And then I just try and find the answer in it. Whatever regimen you choose. Yes, it really does come down to discipline. And discipline takes practice. Discipline, you can't, just like discipline, just like anything else, you can't do it overnight. It's a process. It takes some time. And that's what it comes down to. But when people are willing to put in the energy and put in the effort, they'll see how great they can really be. And they'll just do some of the most amazing stuff. It's just awesome to watch sometimes. It's what I appreciate about people is the fighter spirit. Okay, awesome. The fighter spirit can just do all things. That's what it comes down to. And that's what I want to remind people sometimes. When they take the steps correctly and they put it together correctly, everything comes together and they just make it happen. And it's the coolest thing to watch. And all you can do is just have a big smile on your face knowing that someone else has found the greatness within themselves. You find your patterns to putting it together and then you just watch them run with it. And it's the coolest thing to watch in the world. So, by the way. Oh, awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. So I will talk to you soon. And thank you for joining the live stream. And thank everyone else for joining the live stream. And you all have a great day and enjoy the moment. Take care, everybody.